Hello everyone, my name is Sabina Thing and today I will be presenting our report on household income and educational attainment across 5 major cities in Australia: Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth and Adelaide. This report was prepared for BUS 902 Business Analytics. The aim of this analysis was to understand how educational levels affect households' income and to provide recommendations to the Future Skills Australia on where education and training programs should be focused. Slide 2, Executive Summary. In this report, we analyzed data from more than 20,000 households, that is 20,084, across 5 Australian cities. The data included different income brackets and educational levels such as no formal qualification, school certificate, diploma, bachelor's degree and postgraduate qualifications. To analyze the data, we used statistical tools such as mean, median, percentages, coefficient of variations and correlations. We also used graphs and charts to make the findings easier to understand. Overall, the report shows strong positive relationships between higher education and higher household incomes. Slide 3, Sydney and Melbourne education profiles. This slide compares Sydney and Melbourne based on income and education levels. The analysis shows that households earning over 1,20,000 mostly have bachelor's or postgraduate qualifications. In Sydney, around 88% of high-income households had higher education qualifications. Melbourne shows the similar pattern. However, households earning under $40,000 had much lower level of higher education. This shows a strong connection between higher education levels and higher income. Based on the analysis, Melbourne may need slightly more foundational education support because lower income households there are slightly lower higher education participation compared to the Sydney. Slide 4, mean and median educational data. On this slide, we calculated the mean and median percentages of households with bachelor's and postgraduate qualifications. Sydney had a mean of 58.19%, while Melbourne had 58.02%. The median values were very close. This tells us that the educational distribution in both cities is balanced and consistent across income groups. In simple terms, people with higher qualifications are more likely to earn higher incomes in both cities. Our recommendation was to continue supporting vocational and foundational education programs, especially for lower income households. Slide 5, Brisbane and Perth high income analysis. This slide focuses on Brisbane and Perth households earning above 1,20,000. Brisbane had around 29.6% high income households, while Perth had around 30.3%. In both cities, most high income earners had bachelor or postgraduate qualifications. Very few high income households belong to lower education categories such as no formal qualifications or school certificate. The standard deviation values were also high, showing that higher education qualifications are slightly concentrated among high income earners. This means tertiary education plays an important role in achieving higher income levels. Slide 6, Adelaide compared with national average. This slide compares Adelaide's middle income education distribution with the national average. The percentages for diploma, bachelor's degree and postgraduate categories were similar to the national figures. We also calculated skewness values. Adelaide had a skewness value of positive, which is 1.18, while national value was positive 1.52. Positive skewness means higher education categories are more common among middle income households. Overall, Adelaide's educational pattern closely matches with the national pattern. Because diploma and vocational qualifications formed a large portion of middle income households, we recommend investing more in vocational and diploma level education programs. Slide 7, postgraduate distribution across cities. This slide shows the distribution of postgraduate qualification households across the 5 cities. Sydney had the highest proportion, followed by Melbourne. Brisbane, Adelaide and Perth had lower and is still important shares. We also calculated the coefficient of variation of school certificate households, which was 10.6%. This low variation means that basic education levels are fairly evenly distributed across all cities. Based on this, we recommend a balanced strategy. Cities with higher postgraduate populations such as Sydney and Melbourne should receive more advanced and specialized training programs. At the same time, all cities should contribute receiving support for foundational education. Slide 8, correlation between education and income. This slide presents one of the most important findings in the report. We calculated the correlation between higher education levels and household earning above $80,000. The correlation coefficient was 0.80, R equals to 0.80. This indicates a positive relationship between education and high incomes. In simple words, cities with more diploma, bachelor's and postgraduate qualified households also had more middle to high income. Sydney is a good example because it has both a high education level and a high percentage of high income households. Based on these findings, we recommend increasing access to higher education while also supporting industries that create high income jobs. Slide 9, conclusion and recommendation. To conclude, this report clearly shows that education had a strong impact on household income across Australian cities. Higher qualifications are strongly linked with higher incomes and better mobility. Our main recommendations for future Skills Australia are: first, increase vocational and micro-credential programs. Second, improve access to foundational education for lower income households. Third, invest more in advanced training and innovation programs in highly educated cities such as Sydney and Melbourne. And finally, support flexible learning opportunities and lifelong learning programs for workforce development. These strategies can help improve both educational outcomes and economic growth. And finally, thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope this presentation clearly explained the relationship between education and the household income across five major Australian cities. Thank you so much.